Most people think that Jeffrey Epstein was just a pedophile who liked underage girls. And yes, that part is absolutely true. But if that's all you think he was, you're missing how he became so powerful. Because Epstein didn't just satisfy his own urges. He built a whole system of sexual access, a system that powerful men willingly stepped into. And it wasn't just underage women. Adult women actually played a huge role in how this whole operation functioned. The Epstein files didn't just expose crimes, they also exposed how dating works at the highest levels and why so many rich, powerful men were quietly simping for Epstein behind the scenes. Now, quick disclaimer, Epstein was a horrible human being who engaged in pedophilia and human trafficking of minors, and powerful people committed sex crimes against underage women, and unfortunately, most of them will never be held accountable, especially in America. This video is not about that though. This is about the adult woman side of Epstein's system, because he also functioned as a social broker and sexual gatekeeper, and that's where his real power came from. Let's start off with Kimball Musk, who is Elon's brother. Take a look at this lovely email he sent Epstein. Great to hang out today. Jeffrey and Boris, many thanks for connecting me with Retracted. I believe you both played a role. This shows Epstein introducing Kimball to a woman that he wound up traveling with and reportedly later dating. Now, we don't know this girl's exact age, but given the fact that they traveled together and they wound up dating for a year allegedly, it is very likely that she was an adult. And this part gets ignored, but Epstein regularly hooked up rich, powerful people with adult women. And you're gonna see why that adult pipeline mattered so much. Next, let's take a look at Steve Tisch, co-owner of the New York Giants, net worth $10 billion. Just pause for a second and look at this crazy email between him and Epstein. Here you see that Stevie boy asking Epstein about a specific girl and whether she's an escort or a regular girl. And this is because Epstein routinely recruited both normal women and professionals. Epstein replies by suggesting that Steve hit up, and I quote, the great ass fake tit girl who's going to acting school. There are multiple emails just like this between them. Epstein was the plug for this billionaire to get laid. It's important to point out that when Epstein talked about adult women, he was usually very direct and kind of crass. He used words like big ass, great tits, and shit like that. However, when he was referring to underage women, he was a lot more indirect and vague. He relied on euphemisms and certain cohorts. So based on this information, I think it's relatively safe to assume that this woman was of age. Now, let's talk about world leaders like Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel. Clearly a very powerful person. Now, Mr. Ehud constantly defended Epstein, regularly downplaying his crimes, and he would say things like Epstein is a brilliant financier and a man of great talent and substance. Now, why would someone like that simp for Epstein so hard? Maybe this email will solve this mystery for us. Here you see Ehud coordinating a visit to Epstein's island, saying that he's going to make sure his security does not come. I wonder why that could be. In terms of ages of the girls here, this one is a lot more up in the air. There's no real evidence that Ehud had sex with underage girls. No accusers, no reports, no pedo-coded emails. However, there's also nothing here that insinuates the woman was of age. We simply just don't know with this one. Then there are guys who didn't just praise Epstein, they gave him a crap load of money, like Leon Black, who's a multi-billionaire and probably one of the most powerful private equity investors of the last 40 years. Mr. Leon sent Epstein $158 million for estate planning, tax, and philanthropic advice. Yeah, sure. He also had wired hundreds of thousands of dollars to at least 3 girls associated with Epstein. But, that was also for philanthropic advice. These billionaires will spend more money on one girl than most people will make in a lifetime. Their simping knows no bounds. And then, of course, there's Trump and Melania. It was revealed in the recent files that Melania definitely knew Ghislaine Maxwell. Just take a look at this very friendly email she sent her. Dear G, how are you? Nice story in New York Mag. You look great in the picture. I know you're very busy flying all over the world. How's Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. Then there's also this email from the files between Epstein and an unknown senator describing Trump's first encounter with Melania. I remember flying back with Donald on his plane the first weekend. I went to visit you in Florida. Was the weekend he met Melania. He kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, Wow, what a hot piece of ass. Nuts. Anyway, hope you're enjoying Saudi. That definitely sounds like Trump. And then of course there's a journalist, Michael Wolff, who spent more time with Epstein than probably anyone else. And he released an audio recording of Epstein directly saying that Trump was his best friend for over a decade. But I'll leave it up to you guys to decide whether Trump was directly introduced to Melania by Epstein, or they just ran the same social circles and this was a coincidence. So here's the real lesson here, aside from don't be a pedo. Sexual access is one of the strongest currencies of power. Rich, powerful men typically have everything they want, except easy access to hot new women. Many of them are married, many of them have no game, and most of them don't directly want to pay for sex. Although interestingly enough, they don't really seem to have much of a problem being a quasi sugar daddy. And by becoming that gatekeeper that could get these guys laid, Epstein accumulated a massive amount of leverage. And that power was on full display in his 2008 plea deal. If you're not familiar, Epstein was facing federal charges for sex trafficking underage girls, amongst many other felonies. Palm Beach police had evidence involving dozens of underage girls. However, he received the best deal of all time, where he only got 18 months in county jail and he was allowed to leave literally 12 hours a day. That does not happen without power. This whole saga really shows you how the world works. Even the richest, most successful men are still desperate for sexual access, and being the gatekeeper for that access is essentially a superpower. Forget about Epstein for a second. If you master game to such a point where you have a massive abundance of women and you become the plug for other guys to get pussy, you can get money, status, and literally anything you want. Just don't be evil.